Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy right here, his name's Tim, and this is the Second Legacy. And thank you so much for stopping by. Today, right before Thanksgiving, we have a pre-Thanksgiving delicious feast for you. Three things that the gun controllers had a very bad week over. And then, of course, we're going to talk about our favorite gun grabbers, goofy things that they say. This is going to be a great episode, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. If you love it, if you like it, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. With that said, Tim, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so we got to really deliver for the people here. It's important.
Yep. We need 4 courses: turkey, cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, corn, maybe some of that.
We've got
that
it.
Casserole, the green bean casserole, 7-layer
casserole,
salad.
yeah. Oh yeah, believe me, I'm Southern and fat. I know all about this.
I can't wait till tomorrow. My mind's drifting so awesome. I feel like Homer Simpson, a little bit of drool.
A little bit of drool right there. No, I love it. And then fade into the bushes quietly when we realize what we're about to talk about. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I love me some Homer Simpson reference. Well, you know what? Let's get going, because I think the people of the Second Legacy deserve promptness in their discussions. So I really want to talk about this week because, bro, the week that gun controllers had this week, while everyone was out doing their thing, getting ready for Thanksgiving, this was one for the ages. They didn't get one, they didn't get two, they got 3 devastating losses, and I'm here for it. So let's look at the first one. This is a smaller one, but check this out. This is number 1, Dr. Button Pusher. FPC files for an en banc petition and lawsuit challenging Illinois firearm and magazine bans. Now, why is that important, you say? I'll answer that question for you, Tim. So today, Firearms Policy Coalition announced the filing of an en banc petition with the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals in its lawsuit challenging the Illinois assault weapon and magazine bans. This is after, of course, that they said they're perfectly constitutional for some real insane mental gymnastics. But Tim, what have we been talking about for a while, particularly when it comes to assault weapons bans and magazine bans, about going up the judicial funnel? It takes time, but it gets there, right?
Yeah. It does. When you have far left political courts like that in Illinois, when it actually makes it out of that jurisdiction and makes it into the federal system, then you start getting to real judges that, tend to read the law and the Constitution, apply it as written, and then they run into problems with their arguments.
Just a smidgen, because if you zoom out, by itself, guys, this is not a breaking the charts, incredible, amazing breaking news item. But when you zoom out and you look at what's happening, you are moving up the channel, particularly with AR bans and mag bans like this, and you're getting real close to the top of that pyramid, which is the SCOTUS. So if you look over in the 9th Circuit, Tim, what did we just talk about last month? Roger T. Benitez comes out and rules AR bans unconstitutional. Well, that's going 9th Circuit. You got the 7th Circuit says that AR bans are constitutional. It's going to the next level of an en banc petition. It does not take long until you get multiple circuit decisions pointing towards the SCOTUS with probably differing opinions. And when was the last time that we saw that? And that just happened.
It just happened, yeah. So that's one thing the SCOTUS is almost guaranteed to get involved in, is when you have various circuit courts that have differing opinions. That almost guarantees their involvement, right?
Yep,
so
bump stocks.
Yep. So it should be interesting, because I think, given the history, of course, we never know what a court's going to decide, but given the history of their actions with recent decisions and applying what they've written in those decisions to what Illinois is trying to do in other states, it's clear to me that the SCOTUS has something to say here, and that the states are out of line, and they're breaking the Constitution. They're doing wrong. Yeah, shocker.
That's like their national pastime.
I know, right? And that's what's so ironic about all of this, right? Our founding fathers put those documents in place to protect us from such measures and from overreaching government, to protect our rights. And unlike what the anti-gunners and the far left will tell you, that the document's a living, breathing document and we should just have a simple majority to change it whenever we want, it's such nonsense. Because if you can just change it whenever you want, the tyrants will just change it whenever they want with a simple majority vote. That's why we don't have a democracy. We have a republic, damn it. Anyway, I've already had that conversation.
That's very true. No, that's very, very true. But you know what, Tim? I just realized we're through the entire first tiny little introductory segment, and we didn't check on Dr. Button Pusher. How you doing, man?
What's happening?
Okay, so that was an interesting opener. He's lost. He's clearly pulling a Biden, but at least we know he has the ability to hit the buttons, and he's here and present, and I'm here for it. So I apologize, Dr. Button Pusher. I did not acknowledge you earlier in the episode. I feel a little guilty. Not a lot, but a
You
little.
should though. You should.
I should. He's
You
an
ruined his
integral part of our
Thanksgiving.
operation. I did. I did. All that
He's
lead up for the Second Legacy people, it just didn't work out. Well, you know what?
what's
In the
happening?
interest,
We're giving you
well,
love, dude. We're giving
good.
you love.
Yeah, that's a lot of love. That's a lot of love. I love that. He's got so many guys. Those buttons are just itching to be tickled. So, Tim, I think we just opened up with a really good segment of where everything is going over time. I think it's a good direction, and that's the beginning of the gun controllers really bad to no good, awful, gonna go eat worms week. But this one,
Year. They've had a heck of a run, but anyway. Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true. But I'm talking specifically in the short time frame of the last 3 days. So
yes.
Yesterday, this one peed into Cheerios. This is a really big deal coming out of the Fourth Circuit in Maryland. So as we dive into this, let me just give you a high level, and then we'll kind of break down a few of the details. But if you are one of the people that has been inquiring around what's going on in gun control states, like from California to New York to Illinois, all of these things are culminating at a head. And honestly, this one was kind of a surprise. So in the Fourth Circuit, this is number 3. This is Anna Silveira and Christina Bunch versus Wes Moore. Now, Wes Moore is the governor of Maryland. And the big thing here is they have a requirement to have a license to purchase a firearm. Now, the importance of this, if you look across our nation, this is one of those things, for some reason, it's very odd. The gun controllers are not bringing attention to this. But if you look in North Carolina this year, they overruled through veto overrule to remove a pistol permit license. That was something that happened. And now you've got this happening in the Maryland Fourth Circuit. Basically, this is yet another example of licensure requirements to own a right being struck down. Like, this is a big deal, Tim.
Oh, it is, but it only makes sense. It's no different than a poll tax. I mean, it just on its face and common sense would say you can't do that. You can't say, well, you got to come to the government, ask for permission, pay a fee, and then we'll decide whether or not you can exercise your constitutionally protected rights. That's not how any of this is supposed to work.
Correct.
But it's for safety. It's just another one of their angles.
But it's for safety.
It's for safety. Some say safety. I say harassment. But yeah.
Potato. It'd be like that sometimes.
Right. It goes back to my long held belief that they just do this to harass people into not wanting to exercise their rights. So.
Well, of course. No, of course. Make it as uncomfortable as you can. That way people won't do it. That's
make it too much work. And anyway.
No, you're dead on. You are dead on. But listen to what happened here, because our favorite Supreme Court case makes a big play in this. Dr. Producer, or Dr. Button, person number 4 here. Now, this is the standard that they're operating under. Beautiful people. But for handguns specifically, and this is from the decision, before you do any of that, there is an additional preliminary step. You must also obtain a handgun qualification license. Getting that license requires, among other things, submitting fingerprints to undergo a background investigation and taking a 4-hour-long firearm safety training course in which you must fire at least 1 live round. Then, after submitting your application for this extra license, you must wait up to 30 days for approval before you can start the rest of the process. So what this is a license to even begin the process to have your rights. Now, why is this so massively important, Tim? You just had Measure 114, which is the dessert we're about to talk about, do the exact same thing. New York has a license requirement. All of these states that are the far left side of the spectrum when it comes to gun rights versus gun control, they're all putting extra licenses in front of your rights. That is a massive thing to strike down because it's their mainstay. Yep.
And it's a small step from there to saying, well, licensing schemes to carry are also unconstitutional. So
correct. And that's what's so fascinating that you bring that up. Because do you remember what we covered up? And this is all just off top of our heads. You remember in Measure 114 when the federal judge, this is in the Oregon measure, the federal judge said it's perfectly fine to have a license requirement to own a right because, after all, Kavanaugh said a permitting regime was perfectly fine as long as it had constitutional confines. Well, all of a sudden, isn't that weird? The circuit court says, nah, boo, that ain't it. It's just, it's insane what they try to get away with. It really is.
It is, but they're trying every attack angle they possibly can. They're desperate, and that's what desperate people and groups and organizations do. They do desperate things, and and the irony in all this is they're forcing the courts to decide these matters in rapid succession. They don't
Yes.
realize, apparently, they're destroying their own case. They're destroying their own ability to do anything. They've come out of the
Yep.
shadows, and they're so frustrated because we keep winning the argument. They're so
Uh-huh.
frustrated. They're just like throwing caution to the wind, and they're just doing everything they can, and they're hurting themselves in the process. But hey,
And it's
when
beautiful.
you're
And it's
when
beautiful.
your enemy's doing themselves in, just let them go. It's like,
Just let them go, baby. That
yeah,
is exactly it. And that's something, and this is a really important piece that people of the Second Legacy, please understand. When we've been saying over the last 2 years, they are pushing too far and too hard and too fast, the mask is slipping, they're going to get smacked around. This is the 2-year culmination, and we've got 2 and 3 more years coming of this, where everything that they've overextended, they're going to get pushed back, and they can't go down those doors anymore because the door gets slammed in their face, and they got to try something new, i.e. ammunition bans, i.e. ammunition requirements. All of these things they're constantly doing, they only get forced and relegated to those positions when they overextend on their mainstays and they get slapped. And this is what they slapped them with. This is number 5. Listen to this. Under the Supreme Court's new burden-shifting test for these claims, Maryland's law thus fails, and we must enjoin its enforcement. So we reverse the district court's contrary decision. I mean, good
honk.
talk. Bye.
Yeah.
I mean, because where are you going to go from there? You're at the circuit court level already. Knock, knock,
Yep.
SCOTUS. I mean, like,
I know. And what's funny about all this is, we're getting decision after decision after decision across all these cases. So let's say that you do find eventually some liberal activist judge that doesn't care about the Constitution. It will take forever for them to undo these court cases if they even attempt to, because there's just so many of them, and they keep throwing
correct.
more at the
That's
wall.
exactly right.
So just keep doing it. Let's get 100 decisions in our favor, because it'll just take that much longer for you clowns to try to undo it when you do get a majority, or I'm sorry, when you rebalance the courts.
Right.
By getting
it's out of balance, Tim. It's out of balance. They're losing. They're
clowns.
Out of balance.
I know.
Oh, it's so
oh my
bad.
gosh, the Supreme Court's out of balance. They have a conservative majority. We need to put it back in balance by giving it a 60-40 split in our favor.
A liberal one.
I know.
A liberal one. That's when balance comes into play. Yeah. So talk about, this is such a good segue for the courts. And we're still talking about this Maryland thing. This is a big deal, people. So talking about what you were just alluding to with courts being pro and not pro and just dumb. This is number 6, Dr. Button Pusher. Listen to this history this is the background of what's happened here. Plaintiffs first brought their Second Amendment challenge to Maryland's handgun licensure law in 2016. The district court originally dismissed the challenge for lack of Article 3 standing, but we reversed and remanded for a decision on the merits. On remand, the district court again rejected plaintiffs' claims, this time holding that Maryland's handgun licensure law did not violate the Second Amendment. So plaintiffs appealed once more, finally presenting us with the merits of their constitutional claims. You understand what he just said with the background? Yeah, we told district court they were wrong to relook at it again. They were wrong again. Then we told them to look at it again. Then they were wrong again, and now we got to do this. I'm like, well, I mean, third time's a charm, I guess.
I guess the lower court just didn't understand what they were trying, to be, what was being conveyed to them.
Was obviously, yes, obviously,
why
it was just a misunderstanding, Tim. It was just a misunderstanding. It wasn't political malfeasance at all. No, it was a misunderstanding. Tim, you are so magnanimous with your love and respect. It was just a misunderstanding, obviously.
Simple misunderstanding. Yes.
Simple. It's so easy. But they've seen the light now after they got reversed and smoked and then embarrassed in a decision. It's so mind-blowing, bro. Oh, I know. Goodness but it's gracious. Good.
And it's just one after the other. I mean, every angle they attempt, they just get slaughtered in the courts. It's just incredible. And they just don't seem to give up. They're like, I get knocked down. I get up again.
Oh, no. Wait, hold on. Hold on. Stop everything. Did you just make a Chumbawamba reference?
I certainly did. I certainly did. Wow. Good old Chumbawamba.
Okay, in the comments, if you guys were around for Chumbawamba, let us know, because that was one
of the best Civil War songs.
Oh my goodness gracious! Was that the late '90s, early 2000s? Good Lord, bro! You just opened up a brain fold.
That long ago. It's like yesterday.
Yeah, but it's like 2/3 of my life. I'm just saying. Anyway, it's not my fault. Funny. It's 1/5 of yours. Anyway, let's keep on. Let's keep on going. This is the coup de grace. Dr. Button Pusher, fair warning, you're going to want to get in on this after this one's over. Allow me to read number 8. Tim, this is so beautiful. Maryland has not shown that history and tradition justify such a restriction. Let's elaborate. Maryland has not met its burden. At Bruin's second step, Maryland must provide historical evidence that justifies its law. To do this, it may identify a historical analog, demonstrating that its law falls within a historically recognized exception to the right to keep and bear arms. But the two historical examples that Maryland cites are not relevantly similar to the challenged law, and it has offered no other historical evidence to justify its law. Indeed, Maryland admitted at oral argument that it had not presented a proper historical analog for the challenged law, noting that it had identified no founding era laws that required advanced permission before a citizen could purchase a firearm.
Good day, sir.
Perfect.
Bonk,
That's exactly the one I was
perfect.
hoping you're going to use. You cannot make that more clear and smack you around because you are violating a written decision came out a year and a half ago. This is published. This is law. It's so easy to see you cannot do this, and yet they continue.
Right. I absolutely love the history and tradition part of the ruling that the Supreme Court handed down, because it
It's
just
beautiful.
keeps getting used over and over again to thwart
beautiful.
these clowns. Yeah, it's and like you said, they just keep trying. Bless their little souls. And they know what the expectation is, yet these morons go into court and say, "Well, sorry, Your Honor, we really couldn't find anything, so we gave you the two best we could think of. We're sorry, it isn't really applicable here. Well, we were trying to do our homework." It's like,
yes,
geez,
yes,
could you be any more incompetent? Thank you for being incompetent.
Exactly.
Wow.
Thank you for it, by the way. But it's literally like, dude, I mean, when you have it this clear right in front of you, and it's this obvious, at a certain point, you just have to kind of be like sitting there rolling the dice, being like, please be a friendly judge. Please be a friendly judge. Crap. I mean,
right.
Like, please be a hack. Please be a hack. Oh, not a hack. Oh, man. Like, it's so bad. And we've seen this time and time and time and time again this year alone, man.
Good old history and tradition. Gotta love it.
It's so beautiful, and it's hilariously amazing. But you know what else is hilariously amazing? Is the last news, the last piece, the third horseman of the gun control apocalypse this week. Measure 114, which we referenced earlier, Tim, got stopped, got smoked, got the old Heisman. Said, nah, you can't do that at a state level. It did indeed get got. Because, wow. Talk about rounding out the holiday week with some delicious pecan pie, I don't care where in the country you are. This is delicious. Let me just show you here, Tim, because this is so good. This is number 10. State judge rules that Measure 114 violates the Oregon Constitution, striking it down. Now,
oops.
Tim, I know you know, but just in case someone, the beautiful people of the Second Legacy, Measure 114 is a little bit different. Measure 114 was put forward as a ballot measure, and it barely passed in Oregon. 7 counties really pushed it across the board, which are all the leftist liberal counties. The only one tiny problem is this thing is such an abomination that it hasn't been in place to get it actually effectively logistically done, so it got a hold. It's a flagrant violation of the Constitution of Oregon, so it got put on hold, and it hasn't been implemented since November of last year when it passed ballot measure. Well, now it just got smoked across the board.
Yep.
Like, done, bye. Good talk.
Yeah. And they haven't even gotten to the actual Constitution, right? They got beat down on the Oregon Constitution.
Oh, I'm about to show you what the big boy Constitution is coming in a minute. You are 100% right, but this isn't even that level. This is just state. Yep. I mean, this thing is it's such a trash panda that like they can't even defend it. I mean, they're going to try because Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum has vowed to appeal the ruling. Of course you have.
The people spoke.
Lose.
They want the people spoke. Yeah. They want their slavery. I mean gun control.
I mean communism. I mean what?
Yeah, right.
So awkward. They want it though. They want
Govern
it.
me harder,
I mean,
baby.
And
this goes to another point that you were making earlier and something that I like to drive home. And the fact is, you said that they just passed this measure by the narrowest of margins on a ballot measure, which means just a simple majority would pass this measure, right? The simple majority voted to deny others their constitutional rights. This is why we have a constitution. This is why we have a constitutional republic and not mob rules. I keep driving this point home. This is important. This is why we have electoral college. This is why we have all these safety valves to prevent mob rules from taking your rights away, from everything. I've used the example before. I mean, at one point, it was a simple majority that wanted slavery in this country. Was it right? No. That's why we have a republic. We can undo these things. And so we don't want mob rules. We don't want democracy. We want our constitutional republic. And we want the government put in a box that we have the key to, that we can control their overreach and them trying to expand their power and things like that. That's why we have a constitutional republic. And this is why the wacky left doesn't want a republic and they want a democracy.
Because then you can convince a slim majority to get whatever you want, and the other majority has to shut up.
Through propaganda and everything else, you can get that 1% edge, get your measure passed, and you can deny the rest of the country their rights. Just because it's popular for them to say, oh, you know what? You didn't take this jab. Well, you know what? Majority says you get to go to a camp now. That's why we don't do that.
That's a really,
because that would have happened.
Good example.
It would have happened.
That's a really good example. But think about it. Think about it even back in go back. I mean, so many American examples in American history recently. Think about the internment camps in World War I and World War II. Mm-hmm. Like, think of all the things that the government can do because people are afraid and they allow it to happen. I mean, you could literally just boom, 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 boom of all these examples where the government has to be inside that box. I believe it was George Washington who said, fire is a useful tool, but a fearful master. Yeah, there's a reason that he said it. It's because it's true. I mean, even Gavin Newsom would agree.
That's true, because it's true.
Thanks, Gav.
Because it's true.
I'm glad you agree. I'm glad. See, the hair gel does have some common sense.
Oh, boy.
You know, that was a bit of a rant for both of us, but I feel it was a good one. I feel it was a necessary one. So let me dive back to 114, because this is important on 11. Listen to what this guy did. Oregon, USA. A Harney County Circuit Court judge permanently blocked Oregon from enforcing Measure 114 Tuesday, that's yesterday, of the filming of this video, saying that it infringes on the right to bear arms under the state constitution. The ruling will prevent the gun control measure from taking effect, but the state said it will file an appeal. Of course it will. And this is the stuff, if you're not remembering what this was, here's what it actually did. This is number 12. Measure 114, narrowly passed by voters in 2022, calls for stricter gun laws in Oregon. It would require a police-issued 5-year permit and a federal criminal background check on all gun purchases, as well as required gun safety training. The measure bans the sale of magazines holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition, but leaves an exception for people who already own larger magazines. So right there, I always take issue with the idea that these things are the most deadly thing on the planet, but you can keep them if you already had them. It just
you know, you're relegated, dear subject, to 10 rounds, but hey, you know, military, law enforcement, government officials, they'll carry whatever they want.
Yeah, nothing wrong there.
That hypocrisy there is unconstitutional. Yeah.
Well, Tim, they're the good guys. They are the good guys, except when they're not the good guys, and you need to defund them.
I know.
These people
That's what's so
are
funny.
Insane.
Yeah, I know, right? That goes right to the core of Oregon's politics, right? Defund the police, but only they should have weapons of war.
Only they should do it.
The police are evil, but only they should have weapons of war, not you.
We should arm them. I mean, it's literally, it's hard to fathom. Like, if you were to, like, children, for example, if you bring children in and you don't even do any type of propaganda on anything, and you just lay it out, both sides, it's really not hard to go, well, that doesn't make any sense. like, why would you? What? I mean, like,
I know.
Well, I mean, I guess that could be fair of taxes and all sorts of other things too. That the kids would be like, well, that's dumb. Facts, right? It is. But anyway, we digress. It's day before Thanksgiving. We're having some fun, but goodness gracious, I think it's a great time, Tim, to go to your goofy gun grabber segment.
Oh, we're gonna jump over there. Okay, yeah,
let's do it. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's see what we got here. So one of my favorites is, you know, we pick on K-12 database. So let's start off with somebody else that's unaffiliated. Number 17, Dr. Button Pusher. This is Fight for Justice, Fight for Equality at Fight for Women. So this person's just fighting all over the place. And this is what they have to say. Their Ukraine flag. These folks always have their Ukraine flag, which I think is funny because Ukraine, guess what they did? They armed their population with actual military weapons. But anyway, so
they did.
Yeah. I'm a paralegal. Well, bless you. And am disgusted by conservatives' corrupt criminal actions and behaviors. At time 2A enacted, I mean, a paralegal, and they speak like this. Maybe English isn't the first language. At time 2A enacted, guns were single-shot pellet rifles.
Yes,
I didn't
pellet
know
rifles.
that. They're historians here.
Yes.
I learn something every day. And
Yep.
they did not anticipate or foresee semi-automatic guns. They would not have agreed to civilians having access to military-grade weapons. Well, sweetheart, this is how this works. So I can guarantee you the weapons that they protected in the Constitution at the time were absolutely military-grade weapons. Matter of fact, anything that goes boom, anything that's pointed, anything that you can beat somebody with is a military weapon. Clubs, knives, swords, guns, explosives, rocks has all been used as military weapons. So what are you skidding at here? And yes, they did. And you're saying that our founding fathers could not have foreseen guns that load themselves. Yep, they were idiots. They wore powdered wigs after all. I mean, what could they know?
Mm-hmm.
It's
they wouldn't know anything.
They never thought. They let you have cannon. They let you have muskets. They even had repeating guns back then. But somehow today they just wouldn't have envisioned us being able to own guns that load themselves. It's such a big difference. And those poor powdered wig fools.
Tim, after all, they had never seen any type of increased technology innovation. Like, I don't know, that guy. What was that guy's name? What was that guy's? Oh yeah, Gutenberg with the printing press. They've never seen anything like that before. I mean, who would have thought, Tim? Who would have thought that you would go from writing something with a bunch of monks by candlelight to printing something down to make expansion of literacy across the globe? Oh my! If only they had foreseen, we wouldn't have this pesky First Amendment. Oh,
I know. If they just would have known. What do you think they would have done if they could have seen social media that we enjoy today? I use the word
cry in their sleep because it's so stupid.
Yeah, right. It's like, well, they would have had it written to the First Amendment. They would have squelched our rights to speech because, well, gosh, I mean, they could have not envisioned the web and X and it just. Oh my gosh. Bad. I mean, the stupidity of these people and the arguments just don't hold water. All right. So now we got to go over. I'm going to pick one from my good friend over at Davey, another Davey.
Your favorite
We're going to
one.
hang out. We're going to hang out one of these days and get drinks. And, he's going to tell me all about his gun database. But anyway, so K-12, let's go with number 14, Dr. Button Pusher. K-12. Okay.
A fine choice.
As gun stores roll out Black Friday specials, the next school shooter or mass shooter is probably using credit cards that he will never pay off because he plans to die, which I'll go to another narrative of theirs recently, to finance the attack. And then he links to something about how banks are unwillingly financing mass shootings, because buying a gun with a credit card, I mean, gosh, these banks are financing criminal activity. It's not like guns are protected in the Constitution and Bill of Rights or anything. It's like, yeah. But look what he did there. Go ahead.
No. You're on it. You're going exactly. I feel like you're going exactly where I was about to go. Go for it.
Yeah, but so he's working this angle of suicides, right? They're not going to pay back the credit cards because it's suicides. Now, Braden, what is the one thing that they really struggle with in their database of knowledge that they can't seem to explain away? Because every time they throw out these numbers about the violence in America, the gun violence in America, and they throw out these big numbers, what's over half of those numbers related to?
I believe Katie calls those self-deletions.
Yes, self-deletions. They unalive themselves. And so this is a real problem for the anti-gunners. So Davey's such a forward-thinking gentleman. He decided to get in front of this by just linking everything to suicides. He calls them violent suicides. Really, so that's what he's linking to here. As evidence of this, Dr. Button Pusher, number 15. Oh, Davey, here we go. Going to Walmart to pick up a this is another good one. 79-cent pound turkey. I think he means per pound. You might get randomly shot by a suicidal man. There we go again, right? It's just life in America. So he's talking about 79 cents a pound turkey. That's a shot at the economy and Bidenomics and trying to convince people that turkey prices are down, and then, which is funny. So his politics creeped into his little post there. And then you go back to a suicidal man, not woman, because we've never had a mass shooter that was a woman. Okay, so suicidal man. So there's that suicide again. It's like there's a point here they're trying to get at to try to undo something. One of our talking points. Weird.
It's weird, Tim. It's a very astute point. In fact, I'll even bring more in here. That's kind of tickling my little brain folds in here. Yes, you're correct on the suicide angle because they can never address why over half of their gun violence statistics are suicides because openly it would cut their talking point in half, 50%.
Right. On
top of the fact that it's already down by 20% across the board this year. They aren't telling you that. We've done exposés on that. So it's already down 20% across the board. So that's uncomfortable for gun controllers because that would prove that
and
they're full of
it. Just so people Yeah, and just so people know, it's down 20% while gun sales have skyrocketed.
Skyrocketed.
It's up well over
And
20%.
No gun control. And there's been
And
no gun control whatsoever. So you've
more
had
guns,
zero
less
gun
crime.
control, you've had more guns, and you've had 20% reduction in gun violence, as they would say it, by their own numbers. This is not our numbers. This is their numbers. 20% reduction year over year. In fact, we've gone back down, Tim, and you know this, I'm getting all animated. We are going back down to 2015 to 2019 levels. The pandemic was a bump, and now we're going back to the average, mean, and norm. Now, here's my little opportunity to say, I don't want any of this. This is terrible stuff.
Right.
Make it stop, please. However, when you have a 20% reduction and you're going back down to the resistance levels of 2015 to 2019, we've had over 30 million guns sold in that time.
You know what they call this? You know what they call this? Lying through admission. They're lying through admission because they're leaving key points out while they push their narrative. They're going to tell you we need more gun control because these violent suicides. But in reality, it's all going down while gun sales are skyrocketing, well over 20% increase in gun sales. And so
huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's unreal. And so they're losing the information war, but they're clinging desperately, which is why we point out this whole suicide thing. And so for the last one, number 16, Dr. Button Pusher, our good friend K12, and this goes to that same point that they're driving home. An Ohio man shot. I do. He's such a nice guy. Anyway, so yeah, Ohio man shoots 4 customers before killing himself at a Walmart store at 8:30 p.m. last night. Mass shootings are public suicides. Oop, there we go again. Which is why armed guards. There he's tying into that thing we talked about the other day. Why armed guards and fortification do not deter these shooters. Limiting access to firearms is the only way to prevent them. So once again, he's doubling down on stupid, saying, you know what, we don't need security. Airports, your Congress critters and politicians don't need security. Sporting events don't need security. Schools, in his mind, don't need security because security just doesn't work. This multi-billion-dollar business every year around the world just really doesn't work, folks. Security's useless. Get rid of it. Just ban the guns and we'll all be fine. There will be no violence in the world if we just ban the guns and get rid of security. Yeah.
So easy. And you know what?
Oh,
you know
my
what,
gosh.
Tim? I just had another thought about the banks thing. With your permission, I'd like to revisit that.
Sure.
All right. So you notice, I mean, when we hit that very well on the suicide thing, the homicide thing, the reduction in stats thing, the tying it to suicide thing. You know, the one thing that really strikes me here is how the banks are unwittingly supporting this. It reminds me of something that they did, the left did about 12 months ago. Remind me, or tell me if you remember this, when they were putting pressures on the credit card companies to track individual guns and ammo purchases from the Senate side of the Democratic Party, sending letters through the main organization that issues all the classification codes. And then it promptly got shut down and smoked because we kind of sent a little bit of an uproar about it. You remember all that?
Yeah. Yeah. They got hit in the pocketbook.
Weird how that
makes when you do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how when we smoked their ideas because we were in front of it and we got a lot of people involved and they basically got shut down and the companies backed off. That's what he's referencing. So,
but this goes all the way back to Obama.
It's all tied together, man. Everything's tied together. That's why I bring that up.
Yeah, but the whole bank thing goes all the way back to Obama. Obama was convincing credit card companies not to do business with gun stores and things like that. If you had anything to do with the firearms industry, accessories, anything, you could lose your ability to process credit card payments because Obama encouraged banks, incentivized banks to ditch you as a customer because they can't get things done legislatively. They pull dirty tricks like that. They try to put you out of business. They don't care how many people don't have jobs or how many people go out of business. They don't even care about that. Not their problem. All they want to do is deny you your rights. But anyway, all right, folks, enough of that. On a positive note, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and I hope that you all are able to spend time with friends and family, have a great meal, maybe get out to the range, do a little shooting. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.